Edmonton. Good afternoon. Happy Monday to you. It's the Oil Stream. Gazzola and Wilkins with you. Hernan Salas, making sure everything's running smoothly. Very good, Hernan. Very good. I like it. Text us 780-218-9999. Get to the nasty chat. Were you going to say something there?
Yeah, for the lock shop people viewing and the three boys on there, I must have hit something and it sent the extra while they're still talking. That wasn't done on purpose, and I brought them back,
Sure.
But I do apologize. That was honestly, it's just when you hit a button, you're like, oh, and then I saw the extra go. So I apologize for everybody that was watching.
I feel bad for Bolin Moss and Huss and everybody over there.
It's not personal, I swear. It was an accident.
Did you see his reaction? He's not happy with you either.
What?
Oh, no more laughing.
I'm happy with Hernan. He's great.
Very serious business. He's great. Get in on the action. 780-218-9999. Like I said, nasty chat. Hit that thumbs up. All the good stuff. Of course, the Oil Stream, presented by Boston Pizza. You can buy one medium or large pizza. Get the second read. 50% off.
Well, that's a good deal.
That's a great deal.
Thanks for telling me.
Delicious pizza. We will be at Boston Pizza Wednesday for this show.
For the home game? Oh, for the Oil Stream.
Yes.
Okay.
At noon, BP Westgate. And then we will be at BP Westgate for the away game on Thursday against the Kraken of Seattle.
Oh, neat.
I hope you come out if you can.
We'll see.
I mean, you're non-committal, and I understand that, but it's great when you're there.
Well, I like being there and being around you.
Okay. The Oilers were on the ice at 11. A couple of things to update you on from practice. Also, the Oil, third place in the Pacific Division, right meow. However, I think they're going to be okay. 12 games remain. Get the win over Seattle without Connor McDavid, without Leon Draisaitl. Might be without those guys again on Wednesday. I think Draisaitl probably plays on Wednesday.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I don't think Knobloch has spoken quite yet. I haven't seen anything coming up yet, but he could be back. I think that I was very encouraged with how they played for the most part.
Yes.
I mean, I realized Seattle made it interesting, but my mindset was just win. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be 5-1 with not allowing any scoring chances against. Just win the game. Mm-hmm. And how often will you score without those guys? Well, they scored 4 of them on the other team's goalie.
Correct.
Nugent Hopkins stepped up. I mean, I was saying a lot before he had this little burst that he had no burst in his game.
Right.
That there wasn't that little bit of pizzazz or I'm going to go out there and take charge and be the one who makes the plays. He did do that for the most part. I mean, he got shots away. He was on what is their number one line with those other two guys out of action. So I thought it was a encouraging performance. I'm not going to pick apart absolutely everything. Like, just win. I mean, we've heard so much. Well, they could never win without those two guys. Well, they're just a two-man team. Like, even as they become a deeper team over the last 2 or 3 years, they still get knocked for that. Oh, they'll never win a game without Draisaitl McDavid. Well, they did.
Yes.
And, they had a pretty good game against Winnipeg with those guys only playing, one of those guys only playing 2 periods. So I'm like, bank the points, get closer to clinching a playoff spot, keep competing with Los Angeles, and let's see how they do on Wednesday.
Couple of games remaining against LA, game against Vegas. Before they get to those two teams, they will face Dallas on Wednesday, Seattle in Seattle on Thursday, and then come home to take on the Calgary Flames this Saturday. Edmonton 6-3-1 in its last 10 at home, 22-11-3, pretty damn strong, and away 19-13-2 at this point. I was saying this on Hello Hockey on Saturday. This is my favorite time of year in the hockey world, when the snow's melting in Edmonton and Alberta. It's the last couple of weeks of the regular season. Playoffs is looming. You know that this city's going to be buzzing. I have gone down a rabbit hole the last last week, I would say, and I actually sent one of the links to Cam Moon because he got all excited when I talked to him about it. Somebody on YouTube has compiled the intros, intermission segments, post-game interviews, all of that into like 2-hour videos of like the 1988 run to the Stanley Cup, 89, or 80, 88, 90, 91, 92, those playoffs. Edmonton went to the conference final in 91 and 92.
Mm-hmm.
And then the demise, obviously, for the 4 years before they reemerged in the postseason in 97. And I'm just blown away. I remember the old Hockey Night in Canada intros, young Ron McLean, Don Cherry was there, Dick Irvin.
So they just edited together the intros. There's no hockey action.
There's a little bit of hockey action.
Okay.
But it's mostly like the segments. And then there's some local, like old CTV, aka it was CFRN back then, ITV, Tim Spellacy. There's him doing intros. There was a young Mark Connolly at CBC. And it's fascinating. Lisa Miller, Al McCann.
Yeah.
And just seeing like the interviews being done on the benches in John Muckler's office.
What site was this?
It's on YouTube.
But who put it together? Sorry. Do we know? Like, where did this person get all this material?
Obviously, they had it on VHS because you can see, remember on the old VHSs when on the bottom it would get fuzzy, the tracking would have to be. And so they digitized it. And I went down a rabbit hole. I watched the 1990 Stanley Cup. I skimmed through the game to all the goals and then the post-game celebration. And then they came back to CBC Edmonton. They went to the desk and then they went to a guy on Jasper Ave and 103rd Street. And they had the camera up high on the building and the guy was on the street. It was raining. People were like all around him celebrating. And I'm like, well, Jasper and 103rd is literally 2 blocks south of my home where I live now. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. So I love this time of year. I find it very exciting.
So this is new? Somebody put this up? Was it a new? We got to find this person. I didn't know about this.
Okay, so I'll go to my history.
If you have
on
a
YouTube.
chance to find it, that'd be incredible.
So what I watched yesterday was 1987. I watched this 1987 Oilers versus Flyers Game 7 Stanley Cup Final, full game plus post game. I watched that.
Okay,
it was put up.
I have that game on VHS somewhere.
That one was
never
put up
to be watched again.
It was put up by Video Classics, is the name of the YouTube channel. I also watched the 1990 game, but I skimmed through to all the goals in the post-game celebration.
Yeah, there must be tons of full games on there now.
Yeah, that one was posted by Victim of VHS. I also watched the 1989 All-Star Game. Like, I went down a big time rabbit hole. Was that the one in
Edmonton, or was
that was the one in Edmonton?
One in Edmonton, yeah.
And
Rob Brown was in that one.
Rob Brown was in that one. He had a great season. What I'm fascinated by is like how the coverage was back then, and the style it was done in those days of television, where it wasn't like now where you have digital and you have a million different outlets.
No.
And then the other one that I sent to Mooner, the YouTube channel, is Walker Powder. 1991 playoffs, highlights Edmonton broadcast. And then another one
That's who we need to find.
It's incredible just to see how they used to do the interviews, the procedures there, the access, how open and thoughtful the interview, the players, the coaches were. There was a great Mike Milbury interview prior to Game 5 against Boston in 1990, where Chris Cuthbert asked Milbury about John Muckler saying he thinks the Oilers are at their best when they outwork the Bruins, and the Oilers were outworking the Bruins. And Milbury's like, I think that's ridiculous what he said. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows we're the hardest working team in the NHL. And then the Oilers subsequently went and beat Boston that game.
Yeah.
Their 5th Stanley Cup.
They were very good.
Yeah.
This is fascinating to me. I don't want to start watching it while we're on air because I'll totally
Did you look it up?
No, I have our stream on. So if I look up here, I see you. And if I look down here, I see you.
Oh, thank you.
That's how I like it. I just think it's, now this perhaps, I don't know if the person who did this is specifically an Oilers fan or they just are a person with nostalgia who maybe has a lot of tapes or access to a lot of tapes and likes putting that stuff up. But I think it's more evidence of the Oilers fan base. I mean, there is really an almost endless desire for Oilers related content, or I'll just call it stuff. It doesn't have to be content. I mean, like we do, like video or discussion, but for nostalgia, probably for memorabilia, probably for old jerseys, probably just for knowledge. And what I find interesting is, as someone whose professional life has primarily revolved around the hockey team for about 14, 15 years now, and obviously who has grown up in or near, lived in or near Edmonton the large majority of my life. So certainly, I'm aware of everything. I still am sometimes surprised by the lengths or depths people will go to know things about the Oilers. Like, I got to know stuff. And you've even said to me something, because I'll remember specific games or specific goals, but that's just because I talked about it and maybe, Rob and I broke it down, or I had to make notes about it or talk about it. Like there have been times, and I've said it to you too, where it's like, oh, wow, that's awesome. You remember that. But sometimes I'll see something tweeted or, a stat or somebody remembering, a jacket a player wore to a pregame in 1986. And is that a lucky color? I'm making that part up, but along those lines, like, or, getting stuff after games. Yeah. Like, do you think this player did this because 3 years ago? Like it's really quite fascinating to me. And it's just further evidence of how deeply the passion for this team runs. I mean, I think we know that, but it's beyond. Like this is going to sound like a negative word, but I don't mean it that way. Like it's really an obsession. Like it's beyond, I think, for a lot of people. Well, I like watching hockey and the Oilers are my favorite team. And I take some relaxation out of watching the games, and I take joy when the team is successful. Right. Like it's deeper than that. And as we know, there are many, many people we know whose moods are affected for days by the performance of the hockey team. Correct. It's not, oh, I watched that game and they lost and it kind of bugged me, but 10 minutes later I was on with my real life. It was like, no, I have to go back and watch the highlights. I have to, and look, I'm not ignorant. There are other means of Oilers content besides Edmonton Sports Talk. Just like when I was on Ched,
they're not as good, but
there were people who our coverage is the best. Partly because you and I are here now.
Absolutely.
Humble brag, everybody. No, that wasn't nice. A humble brag. That was an arrogant brag. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
I don't mean to brag, but
yeah, that's a conversation for another day. But like I was aware, like I think, especially in the playoffs, the Ched post-game show Overtime Open Line got a lot of live listeners. Yep. As did you. But I also know people would then go back and listen to other shows. Like I know people would tell me, oh, I don't stay up after games, but the next day, first thing in the morning, I listen to you and Rob at breakfast. I listen to Tom at lunch for post-game or whoever they're choosing to consume. And it's really... I mean, it's great for people like us who talk about the team, because like there's almost this insatiable level of analysis, like desire for analysis, for stats, and as you were talking about, for nostalgia and memorabilia. Like anything Oilers related just piques people, and not everybody. I mean, there's probably people listening who are saying like, "Hey, Reed, I love the Oilers, but like I got a life." And I'm not saying if you love the Oilers you don't have a life, but it is like, I think sometimes, sorry, Tom, I know we didn't see we were going to talk about this. No, but I'm sort of just waxing here. But
don't worry, it was a practice day where minimal things happened.
But we watch other things on TV and be like, oh, look at the Yankees. Oh, look at the Cowboys. Look at the Packers. What would it be like to be part of that fan base? No, if you're an Oilers fan, you're part of a fan base like that. Maybe because of population, there's more Yankees fans than Oilers fans if you just counted, but the passion and connection and desire for the Oilers to be successful, I would put up there with any team in North America. I can't talk about English soccer or basketball or cricket in some parts of the world or whatever. But the Oilers fans, to me, are up there as an elite fan base for commitment and dedication and thirst for knowledge and just continually wanting to talk about the team. And, I was thinking about something else, Tom.
Valid.
I was thinking about something else. It always bugs me because you and I both love living in Edmonton.
Yes.
I mean, as I said, you've lived here. I've lived in or near Edmonton, either in Edmonton or within an hour drive of Edmonton.
We both lived in Lloydminster.
Well, I guess I was in Lloyd for a while, but even that was, 2.5, 2:15 away, and I was back a lot, and you don't lose the connection to the city. And it always bugs me when people say, well, people love the Oilers because there's nothing else to do in Edmonton. And that
pile
is
of crap.
That is such hogwash. Do people love the Yankees because there's nothing else to do in New York? Do people love Bayern Munich because there's nothing else to do in Munich, which I assume is an elite, European city, or at least up there? You know what I mean? Like, do people love the Dodgers because there's nothing else to do in LA? No, like, people love the Oilers because they love the Oilers, because there's a strong connection to the team. And look, speaking of New York, there's Mets, Giants, Jets, Knickerbockers, Nets, Rangers, Islanders, Devils, NCAA, like numerous elite NCAA programs.
Correct.
But the Yankees are number one. Not only is there a lot of other things to do in New York culturally, there's just enough sports teams to keep people busy. But the Yankees have separated.
Yeah.
So the passion for the Oilers is not because Edmonton's this little dump hole where you can't do anything else.
That's Calgary.
That's okay.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Calgary's a lovely city.
This is so it's pretty amazing, and don't let people put your fandom down. Even though I'm going to be cheeky with you guys sometimes when you get a little carried away, and don't let people put Edmonton down. It's like, oh well, you're just a one pony town because all you have is the Oilers. Well, okay, so is LA a one pony town because the Lakers dominate? Somebody put, I should have said the Lakers, not the Dodgers. Like whatever, like. So anyway, that's more evidence of it. That somebody can put up a video of not even highlights, just the pre and post game television coverage.
Yes.
From 35 years ago, and it gets probably thousands of views.
It does have thousands of views.
All right, I won't talk the rest of the show.
No, I love that diatribe. That was very impassioned, and it was great. People asked for the link. I have provided a couple of them there's multiple channels. One of them has just like the preview, pregame, intermission stuff without the actual games. And then another one has the games involved. And what actually I was blown away by, and I remember seeing, you see the clips of Stanley Cups being won and all these people on the ice. I watched the 87 Game 7 final. And again, like I'm skimming through looking for the goals and certain parts of it. The amount of people who jumped on the ice as soon as the clock ticked down was amazing. I was surprised they weren't booting them all off the ice. I've heard stories of people stealing equipment from players and keeping it, sticks and stuff like that. But like the celebration, and that game was intense. That series was crazy. It went 7 games. The Oilers won that. And I'm like, they lost their last 2 Game 7s in the Cup final. That sucks. But I was just blown away by that and just how into it people, and that building, the tension you could tell at the old Coliseum was through the roof. And every time the Oilers scored a goal, it was like, oh, wow. The Flyers took an early lead on a bad Mark Messier penalty in that game. Messier kind of gave a shot to Ron Hextall. Hextall won the Conn Smythe. If you don't know that, to the younger Oilers fans and generations out there, older fans are like, oh, we remember that game vividly. And yes, as you should. It was a crazy game. Glenn Anderson and Mark Messier, I thought, were tremendous in that game. Anderson in particular.
Kent Nielsen, incredible line.
Kent Nielsen, they scored a beautiful goal. Messier's to tie it was just a thing of beauty. Tic-tac-toe. Some great heads-up play and anticipation. And I went back down the rabbit hole, and that's why this goes back to everything I said at the start of the show. I know we've been rambling about this. I love this time of year in this city, in the hockey world, because you can taste it, you can feel it. It's in there. That it's in the air. It's playoff time. This is the best time. Best hockey's played this time of year, and we're seeing it start right now.
Well, and this is, you can kind of feel it, and that's why. And you've probably noticed in how I've been talking about the team. Tom, I'm being a little less. Well, I mean, I guess we're always going to be nitpicky, but especially without McDavid and Draisaitl, I'm like, can you win? You know, like in the playoffs, you know, in the regular season, if you are outshot 40-15 2 games in a row and you win both, you're kind of like, okay, you got to play better.
Yes.
In the playoffs, you're playing 28 games max, and you got to win 6, or you got to win 4 out of 7 4 times. So if you steal 1 or 2, I'm not going to apologize and think, oh, they shouldn't have won that game. I'm like, and I'm kind of like that now with getting these points with, especially without Leon or Connor in the lineup. I mean, just figured out, and that's why I was pleased with Saturday's game and with the third period against Winnipeg. Well, even the whole game against Winnipeg.
They were feisty.
Like I always say,
Winnipeg.
figure it out. Okay, you don't have your 2 big guys, and this is where maybe I hope the experience of the team is going to shine through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that, okay, a lot of players can say, okay, I've done this before, or I know we can't play this way tonight because we don't have these guys, or this other team is trying to stop us this way. Like Rob Brown always told the story that, especially sometimes on road trips, like in warm-ups, like he said, him and Recchi would be like, they're not feeling it tonight. And one of them would be like, yep, we got to win 2-1 today, man. Like no razzle dazzle. Like we got to, you know, so you got to remember, like those kind of conversations go on. And I think older players are more aware of what the solution might be to the problem each night.
780-218-9999. Get your thoughts in as we head into what will be schedule-wise 3 games this week, but they go back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday. They get one of those weird ones where they play at home, then they have to fly out immediately that night, play in Seattle the next night, and then they come back home to play Calgary on Saturday. Dallas kicks it off here on Wednesday, Seattle in Seattle on Thursday, and then back home here against the Flames on Saturday. Of course, we're going to get to our spicy headlines because Popeyes is one of our presenting sponsors as well, and we're in the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen Studio. At Popeyes, you can check out the value menu. They've got that going strong. 5-piece nuggets, fried pickles, mini chicken wrap, mini chicken sandwich, and blackened cauliflower, all for $4 plus tax. These are perfect snackable items that can round out your favorite Popeyes meal. Did you say something in the nasty chat about the blackened chicken or blackened
cauliflower? I tried it last week. It's delicious. It's deep fried cauliflower.
Oh.
And it's just got a little bit of spice to it.
Is
and
it still
actually,
healthy?
I've found there's some pretty good cauliflower dishes that I've tried like the last few years. Like it's an underrated vegetable, I think. And
it's okay.
Yeah, so last week when I went to Popeyes, I got the $4 menu.
Mm-hmm.
I purchased the little chicken sandwich. I don't know what they call it. The mini chicken sandwich, and I got the blackened cauliflower, and I was quite impressed with the blackened cauliflower. Very good.
Were you satisfied in terms of how much you were able to eat? Like, was your stomach full? Or could
could have used a little more. Like the sandwich is quite small. It's not half the big one. It's maybe a third or 40% of it. But it's very good.
The real one, the original, is a pretty big portion.
Oh, yeah. If I not like the first time I went to Popeyes, well, I'd had stuff here that had been dropped off. And then the first time I went to Popeyes, I got the chicken sandwich and fries. And that was too much for me. I mean, the fries were good, but I felt quite stuffed.
Get the mac and cheese.
Okay, I'll have to try that. Can you get that on the $4 menu?
I don't see it on the $4 menu, but I love the mac and cheese. It's my side when I go to Popeyes.
Oh, neat.
A little pepper in there. If you have hot sauce at home.
Oh, that's awesome, buddy.
Put it in. It's good stuff. All right, let's get to our spicy headlines brought to you by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen. And the Oilers back on the ice after a well-deserved day off yesterday. Some guys not on the ice, not surprisingly. Ekholm, not on the ice. McDavid, not on the ice. Draisaitl, not on the ice. So here's how the lines were rolled out. This is from our buddy Tony Brar, who was down at the rink. Nugent Hopkins with Podkolzin and Arvidsson. Henrique between Kapanen and Hyman. Janmark with Skinner and Brown. Derek Ryan with Max Jones and Corey Perry. On defense, I'm just going to read it this way. Nurse with Wallman. Kulak with Stetcher. Klingberg and Emberson paired up. Evander Kane playing defense with Evan Bouchard as a placeholder for Matthias Ekholm. Stu Skinner working in the quote-unquote starter's net. That's a Jack Michaels thing. He loves the starter's net. I'm being facetious. He hates it.
Who hates it?
Jack.
No, I started calling it the home net.
The home net.
Yes. So
That's
when I would
that
tweet
is a
lines,
correct statement.
I would put Skinner's in the home net,
The
which
starters
usually
net,
indicates that person's going to start the next game.
yes, the starters net and the home net are, newsflash, the same net.
Yes, but I'm not assuming that goalie is going to start.
That is you playing it so conservatively so that you are not 100%
Right.
incorrect.
Because to me, the person in the home net is the projected starter for that game. But I don't like calling. I stopped calling it a starter's net after a while.
I still call it the starters net.
Okay.
That's his net. He's going to start. But you know what? I'm not covering all my bases using that like you just did. The home net.
But I'm very picky with words and language.
I know you are. And you know what? I could not care less.
Oh, that's correct. That's
Right?
correct.
Yes,
You
thank
could
you.
not
See, I
care
listen.
less. It
I'm a
means you
big
don't
fan
really
of-
care at all.
Big
If
fan.
you could care less, it means you care.
Yes,
So don't say that.
that's right.
If you're trying to dismiss something, don't say you could care less.
That's right.
Because then you're telling people you care more than zero, so you could care more than anything else in the world.
You listen to the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne and Ice Cube, you'd know this.
Yes.
Also,
People are learning.
don't say, I seen. That is incorrect
That's
English.
completely incorrect. That's
so
never
frustrated.
right in any circumstance.
It is so
I
wrong.
have seen, perhaps.
I've seen is
Yes.
correct.
Yes. Oh, I've seen Titanic. Yes.
Yeah.
I,
Or-
I, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
get out of
yeah,
here. Irregardless,
Hernan.
my ass.
Yeah. I seen
Hernan.
Titanic the other day. Do not say that.
that's
You
a niche
saw
niche.
Titanic
Yeah.
the other day.
All right, let's look at these lines and pairings. Obviously, we've got some big missing pieces, including Matthias Ekholm, who did not skate today. Nugent Hopkins, Podkolzin, and Arvidsson. Okay. Henry, Kapanen, Hyman. I know Tony had a nice little video and pointed out Kapanen, the elevation to the top six. To me, I'm not trusting these lines wholeheartedly until either tomorrow's practice or Wednesday's optional when we get confirmation on them. How do you look at this execution of lineup today at practice?
So what was was Brown up there with Henrique and Hyman last game?
Yeah, I'd have to go back.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect too much different coming off a win. Kapanen, he actually, I was totally just borderline dismissive when they picked him up because
Likewise.
I've seen enough waiver claims do next to nothing.
Yes.
Or actually be detriments to the team.
Correct.
And then when he came up and he skated and he scored a couple of goals, I thought, okay, maybe he's a bottom six type player. And then I thought he went quite quiet. And now he seems to be doing okay again.
Yes.
Now, maybe we're just going to have to live with him as a waiver player and probably more of a depth player. I'm not necessarily sure I see him going right up to line number 2. He does skate. I mean, he does skate, so maybe if Henrique and Hyman are there, he'd be the fastest guy on that line.
Mm-hmm.
Though Hyman's not a fast skater per se, but he hustles. I mean, he's always on top of guys.
This is true.
And he's in the right spot. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's still a little confusion as, why is Jeff Skinner not up there? But oh no, Perry was up there.
Perry, that's right. Perry was quiet the other night.
That was probably one of Perry's quieter
Yeah.
games. So I would guess they're just looking for a little bit more speed to get pucks and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, he'll be back down in the lineup further down once the two big guys are back, I would think.
Yeah, well, I look at him as a placeholder as well. He is -11 in his time in Edmonton. That's through 45 games, -17 this season as a whole. He does have 12 points on the year, 6 goals, 6 assists with 10 penalty minutes. I am highly encouraged, Reed, watching players who have had quiet years in general step up, just win, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
They did that on Saturday. Now, was it a clean win? Did it make people nervous when they allowed that goal while people were singing and doing the wave? Yep. Did it take a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins empty netter for the hat trick to win it? Yep. But the fact of the matter is they played a pretty solid game. I thought they controlled lots of that game. Could they have used maybe one more save? Sure. But I'm not. There were people that were just shredding Stu Skinner. There are people that, and you said this, I think, too, that it doesn't matter what he does. He's in the crosshairs no matter what.
Yeah.
I feel like we've stepped into that. Evan Bouchard has fallen victim to that, sometimes rightly so. Darnell Nurse was in that situation last year, rightly so. He had a bad year. But right now, Stu Skinner, it doesn't matter what he does, he gets heat.
Well, I don't pick apart every single goal that's scored on every goalie. I mean, as we see, shots go in. Most games don't end in a shutout. I kind of look at the overall game, and I also look at how the team plays in front of that goaltender. I mean, yeah. In general, you'd like your goaltender to allow less than 4. I mean, I think less 3 or less is good and would give the Oilers a chance to win most nights. I mean, the only play where I specifically thought, I wonder if Stu could have played that better, was actually the disallowed goal
where he got knocked in.
But even before that, was he quick enough getting to that post to prevent the wraparound and even allowing that chance? But I mean, shots go in and funny shots go in. I mean. And you always see it from the perspective of your team. I mean, Jeff Skinner's wrist shot against Hellebuck.
Good point.
If you're an Oilers fan, you're saying good for Skinner. He got it off quickly and he picked his spot. If you're a Jets fan, you're probably saying, oh, that's a mid-range wrist shot from a guy with 10 goals.
Yep.
How could Hellebuck miss it? I mean, and you got to look at some of the little details too. I mean, Nuge had that one deflect and go right into the crossbar.
Off of Montour's stick,
a lot of times those fly over the net or go into the mesh behind the net. Look, I've said this several times this season. Big picture, Stuart Skinner's season is below my expectations. And it's just body of work. I'm not necessarily going to call out one particular goal.
Yeah.
I thought he needed to have a .905 save percentage because that would be slightly above average.
Yep.
But obviously it hasn't been that. But also, win the game. I thought he made some good saves when Seattle was within a goal. And then even, just some solid stops when they got back within a goal after Nuge's hat trick.
Yes. And
then they came back and scored. I think in the playoffs, Skinner will have to play better. Like I'll say that bluntly, but he will be the goaltender.
Correct.
I think they're going to give him probably 2 out of every 3 starts or 3 out of every 4 the rest of the way, and give him a chance to keep working and hopefully improve or play a little bit better so we can be more solid in the postseason.
I'm with you 100% on that one. Here's one for you. We're seeing Stetcher play these last handful of games on the Got Your Back morning mandate today with Lieutenant Eric and Will Fraser. Shoggy pointed out that he thinks Ty Emberson should be getting those games. I agree with Shoggy too. I think you're better served giving Ty Emberson the confidence of playing in these tough games in the stretch drive where the game is elevated to allow him to continue to grow, because that's what this is, him developing into a steady day-to-day NHL defenseman. But instead you got Troy Stetcher playing. And I'm not knocking Stetcher. Stetcher wants to play every game. He wants to take advantage of every opportunity he gets. He gives you everything he's got. But I think Ty Emberson for this blue line is more of what you need when he's dialed in. And what he needs is more development and experience right now. I would like to see him playing in these games. What say you? I know his game.
I would as well. I mean, he's hopefully a long-term Oiler.
Right, and they have had discussions about extending him.
Given his age, what is he going to be? He's going to turn 25 on May 23rd.
Yeah.
So you traded an older player to get him. I was a little surprised. We've seen Stetcher both of the last 2 games. Now, we also know from Knobloch, like he will reward players. So I think that this is also a nod to them saying, okay, Troy, like as I always say, you give us what you have.
Yeah.
And I do think Stetcher's game has been safer lately. I mean, there have been plenty of games you can tell he's trying his butt off.
Always tries,
but he
his butt
still
off.
might get pushed around in front of the net
Yeah.
or make a turnover in the neutral zone.
Yes.
But I think there have been positive things in Emberson's game this season. I mean, I do think he battles. You know, I do think he is decent at getting the puck up the ice. I mean, there's not a lot of presence in the offensive zone to get a shot or a good pass away. There's not a ton from Stetcher, though I do think he has had a couple scoring chances, border like okay scoring chances the last two games when he's jumped in. I'll be curious to see what they do against Dallas. I mean, maybe they want to throw Stetcher back in there against Dallas and say, okay, maybe we right now trust you a little bit more. I'm surprised because I thought now with Wallman in, I was like, okay, they certainly have their top five, and Emberson's probably the sixth guy.
Yeah.
Now they haven't lost the two. Well, I guess they lost in overtime, but they didn't. Stetcher didn't cost them the last two games, but I don't know if Emberson was costing them when he was playing either.
He was getting burned on some missed checks in front that led to goals from what I remember.
Enough.
Yeah. And had a couple of soft plays, but that's part of that's a guy that's played 95 NHL games, Ty Emberson. Played 95 games. And what do we always say? And you hear the rhetoric, it takes 200 to 300 for an NHL D-man to really hit their mark. And he's got some work to do before he gets there. And it's part of the maturation process for sure. Anyway, I just, that was a thought, but good problem to have. You know, that one spot where three guys are fighting for. I have no idea where John Klingberg's at right now. He's done a rotation with Emberson at practice. You've kind of said, I don't know if he even plays again this year. Maybe not.
I would guess they'll give him games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure what he really brings that separates him from the other guys competing for that position.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, at this point, is Wallman that much inferior to Klingberg even when moving the puck? I don't know.
No. Wallman's,
I think he moves better.
Yeah.
Plus, he's going to get to the puck a little better.
Anyway, it's just, you got guys competing for spots. That's good for that last D spot. Right now, Emberson's the guy on the outside looking in. I think Klingberg's behind him. And then you got Troy Stetcher that's getting the reps right now and playing in the games. And we'll see how long that lasts. What say you? Text us 780-218-9999. Get to the nasty chat as well. A couple of texts to get to before we jump into Keep It or Clip It. Bryce the Sparky says, I don't know if this is a dumb question or not, but at an NHL practice, the goalie stays in one end the whole practice. You go ahead, answer that.
Well, it depends on the drill.
Exactly.
So
they move around
yes, unless they do a small ice drill, where everybody comes to one end, then the goalies will rotate in and out. But otherwise, they would pretty much stay at one end the entire practice.
No, that's
plus you look at which net they go to start the practice.
Correct.
That is a good question.
So not a dumb question at all. Bryce the Sparky, thank you for it. Alberta AB Poker Inc. says, how the F is Kapanen still slotting ahead of Skinner? I don't know. I reiterate, I think that today is just taking a look at it before they decide for sure what to do on Wednesday. Still have a couple of days. They'll have practice time too. But you made a good point. He moves better than Perry. Maybe you're looking for a little more speed. That could be part of it. So they're giving it a shot. Let's go to T. Kirk, formerly known as Soap Kirk. Texan says, reading Tommy, happy Monday. Tommy mentioned earlier, Dry might be back Wednesday. Why rush it? Save them both for another week at this point. April 1, Vegas comeback game. T. Kirk, formerly known as Soap Kirk. That's just my thought on it. I think he probably comes back. He wants to help the team out.
Yeah, they want to play.
Yeah.
They don't like being told, oh, you're not going to play, or we want to be fragile, treat you like you're fragile or something like that.
Yeah, and he's tough. He's only missed, 6 games in the last 7 years?
Yeah, he doesn't miss a lot of games.
Doesn't miss a lot of hockey games. So that's why I think he wants to be back by Wednesday. If he's good to go, we'll see. If he's not, they're going to have to play gutsy against Dallas on Wednesday. And then Joel texts in and says, dude, it's my birthday. You haven't said it yet.
Well, I didn't
I'm
know
yelling
that.
because it's all caps.
Oh, okay.
Happy birthday, Joel.
Happy birthday, Joel.
I hope it's a good one.
It'll be a good day.
Yeah, round of clicks. For Joel. Very
People
nice.
asking when Frederick plays. Are we at least still 2 weeks from that?
Yeah, like Stan Bowman said on After Hours that apparently he's been skating. You know how they skate on their own with probably with Chris Davey, happy, rehabilitating the ankle. We know it's an ankle. We knew it when he was in Boston. Now, if it's a high ankle sprain, I'm not sure. If it is, you hear Matt Cassian and you hear Joaquin, you hear Sean Bell say those are absolutely brutal and they're wild cards, high ankle sprains.
Yes.
You'll feel good one day and then the next day something tweaks or it's not there and you don't get that extra snap in your stride as Belsey likes to describe it. Great skater, obviously, Belsey. So just wait and see.
That would be discouraging if he doesn't play a lot.
100%.
But hopefully he's back. Hopefully he plays some regular season games. Because, I mean, if he can get out there and actually be the player that he is, that's another dimension to the Oilers that would help in the postseason. And, I mean, they're going to play LA in the first round. I think I'm pretty much resigned to that. I don't see them catching Vegas. 5 points with 12 games left. That's pretty hard to do.
I can see them. You beat them. Go on a little heater here. Keep the hope alive. You're giving it a nah.
Well, it's hard to make up 5 points in 12 games. Okay, so let's say the Oilers go 10-2. Vegas then only has to go.
Quit using math and logic.
Only has to go like 9-1.
Can't you live on a prayer like Oilers fans were in the dying minutes of the game? Logic and reason. How dare you? Do you want to finish your thought?
That was the entire thought.
Okay.
KD says, how does Nuge not get a star of the week? Was the first 3-point game, though, not in the previous week?
I believe it was.
So he only had 6 points in 3 games.
9 points in 4.
Dylan Holloway was a star of the week.
Good. That's a good player that should have still been an Oiler.
It's funny for me because I was not working when all that happened. So I hardly talked about any of that stuff. I just was like, okay, well, because it's like, they'll match Broberg and let Holloway walk. And then they didn't match either one. No, here's another thing, but to go back to my stuff at the beginning about how Oilers fans are dedicated, they will never forget about that. They will never forget about that.
No.
Like 30 years from now, hopefully I'm not doing a show anymore at that point. Hopefully I'm healthy and retired. But 30 years from now, if an Oilers general manager pulls off like the most brilliant trade ever, and there's a talk show host and people analyzing it, praising the move, people will be writing, some people will be writing and be like, yeah, but would they let Broberg and Holloway go? And that host will be like, it was like 30 years ago. How does that pertain to what's happening now? And people will write and say, oh, it speaks to the overall competence of the franchise. I still can't believe they let things, like, that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is true. That would be like bringing up the Shane Corson for Curtis Joseph trade and the Blues throwing Mike Greer in there.
Was that the trade?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good trade.
It was a good trade.
That was a really good trade. Worked out.
But
how dare St. Louis give Mike Greer away in the... You gave away Curtis Joseph for Shane Corson. That's kind of similar in a way. But this has offer sheets in it.
Yeah.
A sign of...
I always liked Corson as a Canadian. It did not work out here. Because didn't Burnett strip him of the captaincy and then himself get fired like a week and a half later?
Yes, and Glenn Sather had to take over. You know who would know? That guy right there who played on that team was in training camp.
He was already there?
He was at training camp, and I think Gager got called up 94, 95, or maybe late 93, 94. And that was 93, 94, was it? Or was it both?
I can't remember.
Because Teddy Green was still around for a bit. Things really went sideways. Then Burnett.
Yeah. Burnett didn't even finish the season.
No. And then Slats finished it. Then Ronnie Lowe. Ronnie Lowe went on a nice run with the team.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember shortly before Ted Green got fired, remember he like had a broken ankle or something wrong with his leg, and he was like coaching on crutches on the bench. And everybody was like, they can't even play for their coach who can't walk. I think Lowe replaced Burnett. I think, or did he? Yeah, it says Lowe replaced Burnett.
Oh, really?
What?
Then,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the guy that was on the team says, yeah. Okay, so then Slats replaced Ted Green.
Yeah, for
Joaquin.
60
Okay.
games in 93, 94.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Dazzler says the host in 30 years will be Marshall Bartholomew Keith Nielsen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he'll be running the show and hosting. Yeah.
Troll's still mad they traded Ryan Smith. They did get him back, Troll.
They did.
Trying to make good thing.
Yeah, they did.
Gordfather says if Frederick was this hurt, management needs to be taken to task a bit for paying for retention, also not have any type of conditions on pick. They also have Alec Regula still on IR. And John Klingberg, who...
Yeah, I mean, if Frederick doesn't play and then, and then they lose him, but again, I'm not going to call it a bad move before we see, but obviously there's some risk there if they traded for a guy that they weren't sure about when he was going to come back. And then, Sather was not interim after Burnett. Lowe came right in.
Okay.
Joaquin just confirmed that, as did Wikipedia.
Okay, good. Well, I was like 7 when this all happened.
I was in university when that happened.
Yeah. Trying to remember.
Statue Boss Production says, hey, I'm still choked. They lost Ray Whitney on waivers. Yeah.
That was I
rough.
remember Ray Whitney was here. And he was actually decent.
Yes.
I think he played 8 games.
Yeah.
And then they waived him. He went to Florida and had a great career. All-star.
Well, he won the Cup in 06, right?
Yes, he did.
I interviewed him a
With
few years ago.
Doug
He was
Weight.
really nice, yeah.
And Mark Recchi, who you referenced earlier. And Glenn Wesley, who lost to the Oilers in the Cup final twice with Boston.
Oh, yeah, he was still playing. He played a long time.
Yes, he did.
He's from Red Deer, isn't he?
I think he's
Or outside Red Deer?
Close to here. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that?
I forgot he played that long.
How about that?
That's amazing.
a great way to go out.
He was a Whaler. He was a Bruin, and then he
Whaler.
moved with the Panthers.
And he stayed there.
He moved with the Whalers.
Do you remember Brendan Shanahan, the Whaler, and
Yes.
Paul Coffey, the Whaler?
Yeah, because wasn't Shanahan the compensation for St. Louis signing Pronger? Because it used to be like, here's another thing younger people might not know. If you signed a free agent, you got compensated.
Yep.
And sometimes he was with a really good player. They'd
Kevin
say,
Stevens.
Yeah, it was like, oh, well, you lost like the best player in the league, so you get the other. You lost your best player, so you get the other team's best player.
Scott Stevens, pardon me, not Kevin Stevens. Scott Stevens, New Jersey, St. Louis. That whole thing, or was it Washington?
I forgot about this. We are missing a team Glenn Wesley played for. He went Boston, Hartford, Carolina, this other team for 12 games combined regular season and playoffs, and then back to Carolina. And he played until he was 40. I forgot he went to
Toronto.
Yes, in 02-03.
Boom. Weird.
He's from Red Deer. Traded from Carolina to Toronto for a second-round pick in 04, and then just went back to Carolina.
Yeah. Loyal. Very loyal.
Traded from Boston to Hartford for a round 1 pick in the 95 draft, which turned out to be Kyle McLaren.
He was a good player.
Was he the one that had... No, it was Gord Kluzak that was a high pick and was always injured.
Had his knees.
McLaren might have had some injury issues too. But yeah, Kluzak
McLaren,
was
it
like...
concussions?
Yeah, maybe. Boy,
Gord Kluzak was like top 5
like really good.
Yeah, but he had knee issues.
He was first overall. Yeah, Gord Kluzak went ahead of Brian Bellows.
Yeah.
And Kluzak only played 299 games.
Yeah.
He had like major injury issues. So 1982 top 6. Kluzak, Bellows, Gary Nyland, Ron Sutter.
Ronnie Sutter.
And then 2 of the best defensemen of that era, Scott Stevens and Phil Housley.
Yep. But yeah, that's what happened to Gord Kluzak.
Yeah, he was banged up. Dave Andrechuk went 16th.
Great player.
Very good player.
Great player.
Sorry for taking the show down so many
Jason
weird paths.
LeDuc would like to clear up the Corson thing. We're going to get to keep it or clip it right away here. Greer and Joseph were compensation for St. Louis signing Corson as an RFA. Keenan didn't want to give up the draft picks and had grown sour on Joseph due to the playoffs the previous year. I still remember Brian Hall calling the trade before it happened on Sports Night.
Yeah, and I think at that time, Jason, they weren't UFAs or RFAs. They were just free agents, and there was compensation for. I think
UFA status hit at 31.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was older. Yeah, it was really old.
Yes, those were the days.
Hey, give us a thumbs up, by the way, on YouTube. Everybody rally now and get us to 100 quickly. Let's go.
Boom, let's go.
Click away.
All right,
Away.
time now for Keep It or Clip It, brought to you by Tommy Gunn's Original Barbershop. We believe a great haircut is more than just a quick in and out. It's about the whole experience. That's why we follow the code, a commitment to deliver the best barbershop experience every time you visit. From check-in to the finishing touch, every step is crafted with care. No appointments needed. Just walk in, relax, and we'll take it from there. I have like 4 or 5. We might only be able to get to like 1 or 2 here. Okay, keep it or clip it, Reed Wilkins. McDavid and Draisaitl will miss both games coming up.
Clip. I think Leon plays at least one of them.
I agree with you. I clip it and I say Leon probably plays. This is just me knowing him, seeing how he handles these things. Probably plays Wednesday because that's the type of guy he is, but maybe he plays in Seattle. All right, keep it or clip it. I feel like I know where you're going with this. Edmonton will finish first in the Pacific Division.
Completely clip it. I don't even consider it a possibility.
I'm keeping it because I keep faith in things that I believe in. And that's one thing I think could happen if they go on a heater here. Whatever. All right. And that leads to this one. That one was kind of a throwaway because it leads to this one. Keep it or clip it. Home ice advantage in the playoffs is overrated.
I will keep that.
Yeah.
Though it does have its advantages, such as last change.
Correct.
And such as Game 7 at home, which is historically 59% for the home team.
That's a passing grade.
But it's not the be-all and end-all.
Yes.
But it is an advantage. Don't get me wrong. I'd still sooner have
the question is it overrated? I'm also keeping it.
Keep it.
All right. This one goes back to something that happened last night. I'm going to forego the last one. I had one about Evan Bouchard. What do you want?
Connor, not this week.
Oh, so I keep it then that they don't play this week.
Right. I didn't see that.
We did not see that. Sorry, everybody. We're obviously not at the Knobloch Avail because we're here.
Have that. Thank you for the update, the Latino Heat, Hernan Salas. Keep it or clip it. Let goalies fight.
Well, keep it. I mean, they wanted to fight.
Come on.
This was Kemper and Swayman.
Yes.
And oddly enough, the game was a blowout. I think it was only 3-2 when they were trying to fight.
Yeah.
It wasn't out of hand like when Talbot and Smith fought. It was,
that was great.
6-2 or 7-2 or whatever it was. Look, I know the NHL in some ways doesn't want a lot of fighting.
I think in all ways it doesn't want fighting.
But there are. I look. I've never been a fan of stage fighting. Fights actually born of anger. If something needs to be settled, I'm still fine with that. Yep. And I do wonder about, they talk a lot about player safety. Well, if the referee actually jumped in before the linesman got there.
Yes.
So I always worry about those situations. So the linesman is tying up one guy and the other guy's not tied up.
That's dangerous.
And it could even be dangerous to the official involved. Yep. If he goes down in a heap as well. It would have been. They should have let that fight happen.
It was in the second period. There was 5 minutes and 47 seconds left on the clock. It was 3-2 LA at that point.
Yeah.
And there was a skirmish in the LA zone. Swayman didn't like what Kemper did to one of the Bruins players. Or pardon me, Swayman didn't like what happened to one of his players that Kemper did to him. And so Swayman skates out to center, looks at Kemper. Kemper says, yeah, let's go. Two big guys. Kemper's 6'5", Swayman's 6'3". And they take off their gloves, and the ref literally jumps in and grabs Swayman.
Yeah.
I hate that. Let them go. Let them go.
And I mean, maybe they're worried about, am I as a ref going to get in trouble if I didn't stop this?
There is that possibility.
The Talbot-Smith one, they were trying to deal with other things.
Yeah, there was a lot going on.
So maybe, I don't know what refs are told, like if they're told, always stop a fight, especially if it's two guys 200 feet apart coming together.
Stop the fight, my ass. Get out of here. It ended up being a 7-2 blowout in favor of the Kings. Let them fight. Keep it.
That'll go.
Time to go. That's going to do it for a great edition of the Old.
Fight Jablonski. They just want to fight each other. Get out of there.
That's right. Damn it, Jablonski. Get with it. Big thank you to Reed Wilkins for filling in for Dusty. Big thank you to everybody who liked, shared, subscribed, and listened to us and watched us. You know we love you and appreciate you. Did we get to 100? No, we didn't. We're at 62. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. Coming up next, it is EST Afternoons with Joaquin Gage and Hernan Salas and Ice Cube. And then Reed's back with Jay Milne and the Cube at 3 p.m. For Reedrick and Cube, I'm Tommy saying enjoy the rest of your Monday. Ciao for now.